These guys from a podcast called "This Podcast Is Making Me Thirsty" want to talk to you, and I think and I said, you don't have to tell me what it's about. I said, if it's called "This Podcast Is Making Me Thirsty," you definitely don't need to tell me what it's about, and I'm going on. This is what I want to do.
It's a Seinfeld podcast. It's called "This Podcast Is Making Me Thirsty." But I thought, this is what a podcast should be.
I just did the Seinfeld guys pod the other day. I came up with
these pretzels are making me thirsty.
Oh,
that one. Shout out. We've done it. I've done it. Have you did it?
I've not gotten a chance to do it yet. I'm looking forward to it.
It's so fun. They're so fun.
When I don't know, it must have shown up in my feed, but I see these guys tweeting about Seinfeld. I'm like, oh, what's this? And I find it's a podcast called "This Podcast Is Making Me Thirsty."
One of the most popular Seinfeld podcasts is "This Podcast Is Making Me Thirsty," co-hosted by Chris O'Hara and Tony Chulin.
Welcome to "This Podcast Is Making Me Thirsty," the number one destination for Seinfeld fans. This is 2 Up and 2 Down. Here's our producer, Chris, to start us off.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of 2 Up and 2 Down. And today we are going to discuss the fatigues. So, Tony, why don't you start us off with your first up here?
Okay, the fatigues. Calvin and Robin, friends of the show. That's always a plus. O'Hara will give us the ratings when he goes up. But this is 2 Up, 2 Down. So that's 2 positives and 2 negatives about this season 8 episode. Again, Calvin and Robin. It's aired on Halloween. O'Hara again will give us what's it up against and all that good jazz. But thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah. So my first up. This is if you've watched this before, it's kind of a running theme on later seasons. It's rare that we usually find ups outside of the main 4. In this case, a lot of my ups are outside the main 4. Although this first up I'm going to give is still a fan favorite. I'm going to stick with Frank. I don't know if I could pull the whole thing with Frank. I'll just give you the flashback scene when he grabs the Hannigans, crater in his colon, had to sit on a cork. I mean, you got to save a season 8 episode somehow. And I think if you throw in Frank in, you throw in Estelle in, however you can do it, you can do it. So, if anything's going to give this thing an up, I got to start with the biggest one there is, which is Frank Costanza. I'm a sucker for Frank Costanza. Even if I had to rank his episodes, off the top of my head, this is probably his worst, but it's still him. And he's still got the Hennigans in his hand, and he's still hitting the thing in the flat. I mean, he looks like he's 65 years old. He's supposed to be 25, but we'll look past that. It's funny enough, just seeing him with the shovel and the whole thing. I'll go with it. So Frank Costanza gets my first up in this one.
Yeah, I love that he went for the bottle to tell the story of his war years. So, yeah, good up there. Chris, over to you. What's your first up?
Interesting. Tony usually doesn't like callbacks with the Hennigans and all that stuff. So interesting. Like he said, the fatigues, Halloween night, 1996. I believe that was 5 days after the Yankees won their first World Series in 18 years. 30.3 million people watched this one. What was on that night? ABC. Little figure skating was on that night for ABC. Fox had New York Undercover, which went up against Seinfeld a lot. And CBS had Maloney. I think producer Chris was a big fan of Maloney. All right, here we go. He gave us 2 ups. So he gave us 1 up. We got 2 to go here. All right. I don't have much here. But I'm going to go. It was this. And I don't know. We'll see. But when Kramer. Within ups, there's downs. We'll leave it at that, okay? But Kramer coming in and saying he's going to do the Jewish singles night. I didn't actually like that per se, but I like to say Lomez is going to be there. I like to mention Lomez, and they go, Lomez is Jewish? And he goes, Orthodox, old school. I don't know. Like that line, Calvin and Robin. And by the way, Calvin and Robin, folks, they actually won for the Writers Guild of America. This episode won for best comedy that year. Again, bizarre, but Maybe little lines like that about Lomez is Jewish helped. I don't know, but always enjoy a little Lomez mention. Some of these, Kramer friends that we never meet. So it's an up.
Yeah, definitely. I like that line there where about Lomez. Yeah, he's old school, orthodox. So yeah, good up there. And Tony, over to you. What do you got for your second up?
Yeah, just a one more thing on the callback. It was a subtle callback, so I don't mind it. And it's Hennigan's. Come on, I just pulled the bottle. Didn't say much. Didn't hammer it down our throats because they pulled bottles other times and it wasn't Hennigan's, and I've always been upset about that. So I'm glad they pulled it in this time. Anywho, listen, my other two ups now are going to be pretty much the same, one or the other. I have a feeling O'Hara is also thinking the same thing I am. He probably has the same two written down, if I know. I'm going to go with this one though, just because. You know what? After talking to the guy and watching the scene again, he gave us some background on it and everything else. Listen, it's not a great episode. So how it won an award, I don't know. I love Calvin and Robin, but I'm giving our buddy Joe Erla Dugan an up on this one. just just for that reaction, I'm giving it an up. I needed to get the reaction. Oh God. Listen, when he gets up, I bust my hump, your deranged protege. That was Joe Erla's big moment. He told us, he was ready for that thing. He thought he was gonna have a big role as Elaine's nemesis. He was all psyched. We see him a bunch, but this was his big one where he called her out. You deranged protege. I bust my hump. Gotta love Joe Erla coming out strong. I know we all love Pendon. We all, if you're gonna go coworkers, we're sticking with Pendon all the time, through and through. Most of the time, I'm poo-pooing these people in Elaine's office, but our boy Joe Erla came through as Dugan in this one, so he gets my vote here for my second up.
All right, I like it. I like it. So, yeah, who knew his name was Dugan? I don't think that his name was ever mentioned throughout the time that he was on the shows. But all right, Chris, over to you. What's your second up?
No, that's fair. And listen, your impersonation of Dugan was probably as good as it gets. So it swayed me. And it's funny, I have downs, but I actually wrote it down. I'll get to it, but it's Elaine after Dugan. I don't know if I'll use it, but so I didn't call out Dugan per se. So good job there. All right. You did your two ups, okay? So I can just go. I'm gonna go Banya. Banya's one of those guys. You think he's on a million episodes, and you know him from a lot of the soup thing and this and that, and Kramer with the lotion, the suit, the whole thing. But this one, I actually didn't remember what episode. The Gold, Jerry Gold. I didn't even realize this was this episode. So I believe it. This episode could have used more Banya. Is what I'm trying to say. I think Banya gave you a lot. The duck here is the best. I didn't mind that. Like, I remember the swordfish and everything. Like, he just gave it to you once. Like, they could have beat that the best, but they didn't. Just gave it to you once, and then obviously the whole Ovaltine, Roundtine bit. And it ends with "That's gold, Jerry. That's gold," and boom, he's out. So I think they gave him just enough. And boy, when they give Banya a pitch, guy hits it out of the park. So, and that's rare. They usually, obviously Hirschfeld does a great job with these guys, but bringing Banya back for this, I think, was smart. I don't think it's going to help the grade, but Banya is always enjoyable. Always puts a smile on your face. Period. Banya, second up.
Yeah, Steve Heitner, he's always done a great job in every scene that he's been in. So, yeah, definitely deserves an up in this episode. So, Tony, those are the ups. Why don't you give us your first down?
Yeah, I agree. Banya was good. I wrote him down. The other one I had, though, I thought O'Hara was going to go with it. He didn't. Ned Bellamy, you love that guy. I'm assuming it must be a down here, so we'll get there when we get there. Maybe you throw him a bone on it up. But he'll get his name mentioned, I'm sure. All right, my downs. I mean, that's the thing. I I hate going so broad on these downs, like just the character, but when the thing is so bad, it's just too bad. It's hard to kind of pick and choose what you want to call the down on. Um, and again, I mean, we've said it over and over again. When you get to these late seasons, the two characters that really bring this episode down are going to be the ones that I'm going to use. But my first down, I don't know if this is big enough. You kind of touched on it. I mean, Elaine running the company, the whole thing there, like you said, when Bellamy, when after Erla quit, everything she did in this episode was just terrible. When she's in a powerful position like that, even if it's backfires, it's still dreadful, Elaine. I mean, this is what we talk about. We say we don't like Elaine late seasons. She thinks she's running the show and then she doesn't know what to do. She gives the guy a raise. It's awful. I don't know how else to say it. I just can't stand Elaine in this episode. I just don't like when it's hard to. I think it's Jewel. I think she's just full of herself. As the show got better, they got the hair, the clothes, she just seems like she was just not as funny. I don't know how else to say it. And the storyline wasn't great, but she doesn't do anything with it. I mean, sometimes Kramer gets a bad storyline, but he makes something out of it because he's Michael Richards and he's grounded. I think she's just kind of mailed it in. I know, a little hard here on Kramer. I'm just truly, but Elaine was terrible. What else can I say? Hope it's not too big of a down. I'm sure you got a few written down. So that's my first down. Is just Elaine.
I'll agree with that. Elaine's storyline, and yeah, like I said, we like earlier Elaine than the later Elaine. So I'll agree with that. What you said there, Chris. Over to you. What's your first down?
Yeah, I mean, when Dugan quit and she yells, "Wait, wait!" I'm like, you want to turn it off. It's the equivalent of like the George like bebop and I don't know, or him just yelling in a painful, eerie way. All right, so you did Elaine, okay. Eddie, yeah, you mentioned it. I mean, the Eddie monologue. Well, you know what? I'm gonna do the George like storyline on the reading, like he's failing an eye test on purpose, like, and then the book on tape is him. I mean, oh, this guy. So he took the eye test like at the doctor. Oh, I don't see anything. Like, and then like, oh, you're a real handsome man, and oh, you want to sign this? And he hits his. Enough. I get it. They didn't even have to show that scene. They could have just said he faked the eye test. We get it, okay? And then he picks up the book, and then I don't get it. So he couldn't listen to the book because it sounded like him. Just I don't know. It just wasn't funny. Like I don't mind. Again, you got to take swings. Kevin and Robin, friends of the show, great guys, but this one is just a miss. That the whole failing the eye test and then the book sounding like him, big miss for me. So that's my first. And there's plenty of other George. I'm saving some for you if you want them. So, but it's the eye test thing with and then the book sounding like him. They could have skipped both of those. Quite frankly, read the damn book, George.
Yeah, grow up being an adult, right? So thanks, Chris. Tony, over to you. What's your second down here?
No, listen, I had George was my next big one. The same way I had one in the lane. Like there's so much. It's just you just have to say it's George. There's no way around it. Like you said, like the book stuff, the voice thing. It's just terrible. It's the same thing. Just mailing it in. His conversation with Jerry about the protege stuff was just silly. Pick up laundry and dry cleaning. Like, just terrible all around. I'm sorry, when I know we harp on this stuff in these later seasons, but there's a reason why. It's just bad. Because you took George, I mean, there's other stuff there, but it's pretty much George is terrible. Elaine's terrible. I got to give it down, and if we have her on the show, I'd love to have her on the show. But Jerry's girlfriend, Abby, the one who is the protege, she's not doing anything for me either in this one. I mean, it's just I don't know. I know she's trying. I think she was supposed to be someone who was. I guess what I'm saying is she was a good actress. She played the role well. I didn't like the role. I thought the role was silly. It was supposed to be like she needed a mentor. Like who's ever heard of this mentor protege thing either? I know that it's probably a thing, but is it a thing? Is it a thing like this? I don't think so. I know they're trying to make a joke about it. I just think it's a lot to extract from for a 22 minutes episode. It might be a funny little premise like Banya, a person that someone respects is dating Banya. Okay, fine. Maybe we could make something out of that. But this protege stuff, and at the end, George is reading the Ovaltine joke. That's when I'm just like, if you make it that far, that always gets me too. I hate the ending, how they switcheroo it. I know it's kind of the tie-in stuff, but it all kind of comes together. The protege stuff, the girl who played the protege, probably babbling a little bit here because I'm not. It's just so bad. It's hard to. I just don't like. I didn't like the story. I couldn't wrap around it, if that makes sense. It didn't really fit for me. Like I couldn't. Protege, mentor, risk management. It's a whole bunch of gibberish. This isn't Seinfeld. This is what they should be talking about. I don't know. Maybe maybe that hung me up a little bit. But anyway, that's my down is the mentor protege, specifically Jerry's girlfriend, who's the protege. But aside from Banya, nothing else hit in that whole thing. So that's a down.
All right. Well, thank you, Tony. Chris, over to you. Give us your final down here.
Yeah, the risk management thing, and how'd they know about that? I might have it on my resume. Like, I felt like when he went to interview the Yankees, there was no resume. He just went in, did the opposite, if you recall. So again, you got to be tight on these things, and yeah, and then I think the opening scene, like she's talking about mortgage, but like Jerry would never be in a conversation talking about mortgage bonds. Okay, I know he bought the stocks once back in the day. And that's where they forced in the mentor thing. And then Jerry saying, "Oh, Kramer worked at Brant Leland." Like, I don't know. What does Brant Leland do? Do we know? I guess it's high finance, as they say. So yeah, and then back to that. Abby let George be her mentor. Like, what are we doing? George runs out the door, and then all of a sudden she's his Yankee Stadium office. Yeah, so I'm with you there, I guess. So. The Elaine stuff you hit. I mentioned Abby. Yeah, the last scene was terrible. George never opened up the envelope and looked at the notes. What was he going to read? He didn't brief that at all. I'm doubling down there, but I'm going to flip the switch on you here. You're up. I'm giving it down. I thought the Frank flashback thing was. I mean,
terrible.
Ended already.
Yes. But I had to give Frank an up. I think
I do have an up with Frank when he just walks out to tells George, "What are you wearing? An athletic sweatsuit?" I like that line.
That's a great line. That's a
but
great line.
The flashback scene, like
I thought it was worse when they actually did the cooking than the flashback scene. To be honest with you, it was so dumb. You had to laugh at how dumb it was.
I'm going to give you both flashback and the cooking scene, throwing the table. I mean. What are we doing? I mean, even him, I love Frank, but and I kind of like humbug, baby, but I was like him yelling at his wife. I mean, I don't know. And this is the first time we ever hear that he's a cook, obviously, right? Like, I don't know. Have we never seen him in the kitchen before that? And I don't know. It was a little off with Frank. Like I get it. They wanted him doing crazy stuff and all black baby. Like, okay. I mean, but for me, it fell a little flat, and I just thought that the Hannigan's fine, the Pink Hats bring it fine, but just too much. Like, and I don't like these. They almost, and you don't like flashbacks either. Like even when they go flashback with Elaine dancing, like this was almost worse because it was characters we don't know and. Him back in the Korean War, I guess, but it fell flat for me, and I'm going to take it as down. So sorry, that's my second down. Hate to do it to Frank, but got to be fair here.
All right, well, thank you, Chris. So that wraps up the 2 ups and the 2 downs. So Tony, we're going back to you. Wrap it up with your final grades and your thoughts on the Fatigues episode.
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to argue that it was bad. We're just, degrees of bad in an episode like this when you got to give up. So, you reach for the Hannigans. I'll give them it up. Listen, this is a bad episode. I was actually, O'Hara likes to do this. I usually don't, but I did look back at my original rankings of this, and it's not pretty, folks. And it's still that way. I mean, in a way, I think of the grades different than rankings because there's groupings with grades, and you can kind of look at it in blocks of where it kind of fits. This is season 8, and it's bottom of the barrel season 8. If you look at it that way, like, you know, I don't know. Originally, I didn't know where to go with this. I mean, low for sure, but I didn't know how low. Then I looked at my rankings to kind of give myself a barometer of my overall thoughts of the episode, and I was too kind when I was giving my ups and downs. It's just such a bad episode. I think that it's one of those that it kind of it's a terrible George. I think it's one of the worst Georges of all time. The risk management stuff. Elaine is bottom 5, bottom 10 Elaine of all time, right? I mean, Banya's not saving this. Even Frank, who I said, I gave him an up because we got to find ups, but it's his worst episode by far. And this might be one of Kramer's worst episodes. The Jewish singles night cooking stuff. I'm surprised, Calvin and Rob, they won an award for this. I'm going F. I'm going just an F. I had B stuff written down earlier, and I'm thinking about it more and more. I mean, it's a terrible episode. I hate to, Calvin and Robin, friends of the show, but I'm trying. I've given Dugan an up. I mean, that's where I landed. Dugan an up. I almost talked myself into Bellamy giving him an up, and I couldn't do it. So yeah, it's we throw these out there every once in a while. I don't think we have too many of them, but this is one for me. It's a clean F for fatigues.
All right, yeah, I hear that, Tony. So, Chris, I want to go right over to you for your thoughts and your final grade here.
Yeah, folks. I mean, if I knew what this episode was going to be back on that Halloween night of '96, I would have watched the figure skating. To be honest, yeah, Tony hit it all on all cylinders there. I mean, yeah, Kramer. I gave Kramer an up with the Lomez line, but overall, it's him coming in, cooking, and him and Jerry eating. It's terrible. Frank was terrible. Yeah, Banya was good. Abby, the girlfriend you mentioned, I don't think she was. It just didn't fit. She wasn't bad.
No,
our friend Eddie.
I agree. I want to be clear. She wasn't bad. It was just a terrible character.
Yeah, our friend Eddie. He didn't bring it was called the fatigues because of him, and he wasn't funny. He's welcome on the show. He's blown us off for years now. So I don't care if it comes on or not. But he didn't bring it. And their storyline together, the chemistry was just so dumb. And then he went to the Jewish singles night. Eddie, I don't know. I guess he's Jewish. Doesn't matter. And then he meets the other woman, and she offers him a job. It's so cartoonish, and the premise is Elaine ends up just keeps promoting him, and then your boy Dugan flips out. Yeah, I mean, George. It's an F. I don't know how to put it. A clean F. How it won an award? I don't know. I mean, maybe on some level, to your point, the mentor-mentee thing. But it didn't fit here. And then her running off and George being the mentor. It just none of it really made much sense. And yeah, the whole Eddie stuff, just I mean, listen, we're a pendant shop here, so when they go a little too deep on Peterman, especially when Peterman's not there, we got a problem. So F.
Yeah, well, there you have it, folks. Again, this is how this episode stacks up to other Seinfeld episodes, and unfortunately, it doesn't pass the mustard. So. Thank you guys for your ups, your downs, and your grades, and we hope that everybody tunes in for our next episode. Thank you.